This week's episode is brought to you by Habst and the Disney Saboteurs, the new novel by Leonard Kinsey, on sale wherever great books are sold.
Communicore Weekly. Wanna get geeky? Bob around boats and five-legged goats. Communicore Weekly. You might get some freaking. Waiting all week. I'm sure you already know this. Greatest online show. Welcome to season 3.
Hello and welcome to Communicore Weekly, the greatest online show and home to us, the world's first pair of independently born identical twins. I'm George.
And I'm Jeff. And this is a first episode for us back after the Communicore. It's the first episode we're recording, like real episode that I'm recording in the new apartment. It was just an episode of firsts for us.
Yeah, I'm still not used to this time zone.
No, because you're used to my time zone.
Yes.
Was it weird to record episodes in the same room as me last week?
It was because the facial clues were easily like, oh, this is sinking. We need to change the subject.
Yes. See, that way it was good because over audio, we can never tell when we need to change the subject and we're going off on a tangent. But visually, I can be like shaking my head or waving my hands, and you could be doing the same. And we'll know, hey, this is dumb. Let's move on to something else. Now I'm doing it, but you can't see me.
But it was also a lot of fun to record with people that were on the Communicore with us.
Yes, that was a blast. Even though the last episode was very long, episode 121, it was a lot of fun because we got a lot of involvement from people. And again, thank you everyone who came on the tour with us. But speaking of which, we got a little trip report, another first for you, don't we?
Exactly. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Step, jump, and skip. We took a trip, and this is our trip report.
Well, not only did both of us get to visit Imagineering for the very first time, and we've been to the studios. At least I drove by it once before, and I got to dine in Carthay Circle for the first time. But that's not what we're really going to talk about today in this trip report. It was my very, very, very first trip to Knott's Berry Farm. And Jeff, I know you've been there at least once or twice.
At least once or twice, plus a couple of zeros after that at this point.
I was pretty excited because I've heard you, we've done a lot of Knott's history segments on the show because it is a great little theme park. And so I was excited to experience it for myself. And you can't not read about Disneyland history and not learn about Knott's at the same time.
Yeah, they definitely intersect quite a bit, especially because, Knott's and Disney, they work together on a lot of things. And Disney visited Knott's quite a few times in the process of developing Disneyland. So their history is very intertwined. So I'm very curious to hear granted, I heard them already.
I was going to say, you heard it live.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts again, and maybe, some reflections now that it's been a week since you've been there, some reflections about the park.
Well, it was really hot.
Well, yes, it was a very hot week, so.
But yeah, I think that's the week. I think that day we still got up into the mid-90s.
Yep.
This was after the Communicore, so we were both a little tired and a little grumpy, to say the least, but still, nonetheless, I was excited. It was sort of neat to walk in front of the park, and then you come up onto the ticket booths and pass through, and there wasn't anything that jumped out at me like Main Street. I sort of didn't know what to do, my first time at this park. And then so the first part we went into was Ghost Town, which was sort of the original part of the park, that was built so people could wander around where they were waiting for their chicken dinners, from what I understand.
Waiting to be called into the restaurant so they can actually sit down and order and stuff. But, yeah. Obviously that was the oldest part of the park. It's the original, what started the park to begin with. But how did you feel about it? What were your impressions of Ghost Town overall?
Well, I was trying to get my bearings on it. With Main Street, it's so easy. You've got one straight line that you head down towards the castle. Epcot, you head towards Spaceship Earth. I won't say anything about the other parks. But it was just sort of, it seemed like a smattering of small buildings that really, really showed their age. Fantastic theming. The animatronics, no, they weren't animatronics. figures.
The figures, I guess, is the best way to
that were
describe them.
fairly static. Were interesting. You could tell they were of their time or of their generation, especially the Chinese laundry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great, to me, I find it very charming, and I find it that it's a great little snapshot into the time period when Ghost Town was first opened.
Sure. Oh, definitely.
And I mean, I don't mind that they're not sophisticated animatronics. I really enjoyed the fact that they're the old school. You know, some of them had very simple movements and audio
like
tracks
arm
playing
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. It felt like a great place to ramble and to just walk around and not feel hurried at all. I knew there were so many things we wanted to do, the different roller coasters, see some of the attractions, but it never felt like I was being pushed or that I needed to. Of course, when you told me to visit the jail, I knew about this, but I wasn't expecting it.
Well, yeah, because I made you, walk over to the jail, and then I quickly ran over to the window to tell the man controlling him that what your name was and it was your first time. And I thought you two had a pretty interesting interaction.
Oh, it was fun. I mean, was it Slack-Eyed Joe or Sleepy-Eyed Joe? I can't remember off the top of my head, but anyway, I was just peering into it, and I was like, oh, yeah, there's a guy right in my face, and he says, hi, George. I was like, whoa, hi, how are you?
Hi, thing that knows my name inside the jail cell.
You're stuck there, I'm not, haha. But yeah, the guy obviously had a good repartee and knew how to do some improv, I guess after probably a few years of doing that, but at the Ghost Town, you could see some of the inspiration for parts of Disneyland, especially Frontierland, how it was laid out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Frontierland.
It felt like it was a little larger than it probably actually was because you had some side streets you could look down. You had some different areas. I thought it was fun. It put me in the mood for being in a theme park as opposed to a coaster park or something like that. So it really got me into that feeling of it. I liked it. I really did. It was charming.
We also had lunch there too, and the Ghost Town Grill, which is by far my favorite restaurant in the entire of Knott's.
It felt a little expensive to me, but not bad. But once I ate the food, it was spectacular. I had for those of you who don't know, I get weird when I'm at a theme park. I like to eat salad because I think it dehydrates myself. I know I'm lying to myself. It's just crunchy water.
Whatever makes you feel better, George.
Exactly. It was a huge salad with a lot of chicken on it and a lot of fruit. It had the fruit that you don't eat, the boysenberries.
The boysenberries.
Yeah, which
is ironic. The one fruit that's like, original to Knott's Berry Farm, I actually do not enjoy for some reason. I apologize, Knott's.
So that was what we sort of did near the end of the day, but, the first attraction that we did was the Splash Mountain ride.
I don't know how many times during the day I had to correct George on what it's called. It's called the Timber Mountain Log Ride.
Yes. And, you guys maybe sit up front, which is partially to block you guys from some of the water.
Yes.
But it was a great attraction. I mean, it wasn't as long as the Splash Mountain at Magic Kingdom in Florida. And even the Splash Mountain at Disneyland felt a little bit longer, but not much longer than this. And I know it had been refurbed, probably like 10 years ago, or was it sooner than that?
No, it was refurbed less than a year ago.
Oh, that's right. It was last year. That's right, when they did the opening. That's right.
Yeah.
The only thing that got me about the ride is those animatronic, they're creepy.
Especially when we went into that first room, when you first got on the ride. I remember you turned around, you're like, these dudes are creepy in the woodworking mill. And they are creepy. I mean, admittedly, yes. But with the budget that they had to make that ride, I think Gardner Holt did a fantastic job with the animatronics. Yeah,
I think so too. And it was a cute attraction. It wasn't as drastic of the flume wasn't as drastic as either one of the Splash Mountains, but it was pretty rough and it was pretty fast, which was exciting too. And there was that great pine smell.
Yes, there was.
And I loved it.
Just to build off what you said about it being fast, I remember when we got off the ride, you said to me, I liked it a lot, but I felt like it was too fast to actually see everything that was going on. Which to me means, it's the type of ride built that you need to go on again and again to catch everything.
Oh, totally. It's one thing I'm thinking now is like we should have hit that one more time before we left for the day.
It's not like the line was all that long. I mean, it took us 15 minutes to get on. It was a very slow day for a Friday because it was boiling hot.
Yeah, and there were a lot of school groups there.
Yes.
They were being good. So that was fantastic. A slice of history. The Calico Mine Train, of course, was closed. It's being refurbished.
But we did. I mean, they had the fence up there to block, quote unquote, block the view. But I mean, there was that whole area off to the side that we stood at. We watched them for a couple of minutes.
They were doing some work on the mountain itself.
It opens up in June. You can come back out.
Yeah, I've heard something a little bit about some Diagon Alley somewhere too.
I don't know what that is. You're not even speaking English right now.
So after that, we did ride the Silver Bullet. I don't know what any of the other lands were called outside of Ghost Town.
I don't think all of them have official names except for like Roller Coaster Land.
Which is most of the rest of the park.
I mean, because that area that we were in has a whole bunch of roller coasters.
It does,
We hit, a lot of them in a row. We hit Silver Bullet, which is my favorite coaster of the park.
That was a good one. Yeah, there's a very similar one at Carowinds that is about a third of the time.
Oh, really?
That you spend.
So
Yeah,
Silver Bullet's way better.
Yeah, Silver Bullet was way better. I had a lot of pulls, a lot of corkscrews, absolutely fantastic. And we rode I keep wanting to call it the Exonerator.
The Accelerator.
The Accelerator.
I'm lying to you. That is actually in the boardwalk section of the park.
Oh, that was the boardwalk section.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was a ride that we walked into the line, walked up to the gate, and they're like, "Is there any parties at 2?" And we were like, "Yes, please."
Yeah,
and we got
that's us.
immediately on.
And that was fun, but I think that was typical of a lot of Paramount and Cedar parks of the 80s and early 90s is we're going to give you a real quick thrill and get you off of the attraction quickly.
And I was telling George that was a prototype in a way for Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure, my home park in New Jersey. Just the way it shoots you out and the height. And I mean, to me, it's like a little slice of home. It's obviously not as tall as Kingda Ka, but it does shoot you out very quickly.
Yep.
And I think you were not prepared for what it was. I think we were already strapped in, and you were like, "I have no idea what's going to happen to us right now."
Yeah, I could see it, and you're like, "Oh, it shoots you out." I'm like, "What?"
I was like, "Just look ahead, brace yourself, and you'll be fine."
Yeah, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I wish it had a little more oomph to it after the initial going straight up and going straight down, but it was still good. It was an enjoyable coaster. I liked that there was no weight. But one of the we walked into like something called a haunt museum or something too.
Yes, yeah. Well, I made George walk into the haunt museum because now I'm obsessed with it. Pointing out some of the previous haunts things and thing that's coming up this coming year and some of my favorite mazes from this past year. I really want you to come out for that. I really think you would have a good time.
Oh, I think so. I think it'd be fun. It's just we'll have to do a Kickstarter campaign.
That's fine. Kickstarter to get George out to
fly George out to. Yeah, no, we're kidding, guys. We're kidding. We would never do something
unless you want to do that.
Unless you want to, then we'll take it.
I mean, that's fine. But it's not. We're just joking. Don't do that.
I think the overall, I know there's one more attraction we rode that I really liked I want to talk about, but before we get to that, as we walk through the park, you could see the growing pains sort of that they went through, how there was that great little cemetery, and right plop in the middle of it was part of a roller coaster.
Yes. And for those of you who've been to Knott's, to reference, it's the cemetery where, I forget the guy's name, but the beating heart.
Oh yeah, you stand on it. It's the box of baby rattlers that are very dangerous.
Which you thought was one of the greatest jokes ever.
That was absolutely beautiful. I love that. But it was you walk through that where one moment I felt, oh wow, I'm in a great theme park. Oh, what is this? Just steel everywhere.
Yeah.
And you lost that feel. The boardwalk area, you can tell it sort of started to go that way, and they tried to pull it back.
Well, boardwalk again. About the same time that the Timber Mountain Log Ride was redone, they redid the boardwalk area.
Okay.
So there were 3 rides in that area that are new. There are 2 flat rides and the Wild Mouse coaster that are right there are brand new.
The one attraction I thought was really cute, and I can't imagine actually wanting to wait for it, was the Stagecoach, though. Because it holds probably 6, 8, maybe 10 people at a time.
Yeah,
and it's a long more than 5 minute ride, it feels like.
Yep.
And the guy was like, "You guys want to sit on top?" I was like, "Was the inside hot?" He goes, "Yeah, but not as hot as it is on top." I'm like, "Okay, inside."
Inside it is, everyone.
Inside. And it was something different, something I've never done before. I've never been in a Stagecoach. Made me think, was this how it was at Disneyland and Frontierland during the first couple of years?
Yeah.
It was a great little attraction. If there's not a wait, I think do it. It's a great way to see the park overall and get a good idea for it. But I enjoyed Knott's. There were still things we didn't get to do that I wanted to because we ran out of time because we had mice chat things we had to take care of.
Yes.
But it's a great park. They're building and they're building in a great way. They're retaining their history. They're trying to keep their history. They're trying to build items that have some history to them as well.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of that has to do with the management team they have now. I think is great. They really respect the past of the park. They have great historians like Eric Linksweiler, who is a big champion of the history of the park, and he gives these great presentations on it. And I think because of these type of things, the park is really embracing its past and really making sure it doesn't lose that old charm that it had when the park first opened. And I'm extremely happy about that. It's a different park than Disneyland, but I very much enjoy going there.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing I've heard a lot of people talk about too is how Knott's has totally stepped up the food, and yes, they did.
Yes, they have.
They really did. It's how far away from the Disneyland Resort is Knott's? Is it about a half hour?
No, it's less than that, because we took that wrong turn the other day and we wound up by Knott's, so it's maybe 10-15 minutes. So it's worth the the drive up there.
Yeah, it could be part of your trip, and I really recommend it. I had a great time. It's not necessarily this is not a slam against Knott's. It's not necessarily a full day park, but it is a place I would like to spend a lot of time. Exploring it, playing in the ghost town area, going through some of the shops.
Absolutely.
And if you enjoy coasters, they've got some great coasters there as well. But even if you don't, there are plenty of things you can do. So I say,
I'm going to take you back. That's what's happening.
Yeah, we have to go back. Go back to Knott's Berry. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Let's do it.
He's a nerd, he's a geek, but we all like to hear him speak. So listen up to the words from his speech. It's George's Book of the Week.
Well, this week's book had me pretty excited. I'm a big fan of Bamboo Forest Publishing and a lot of stuff that Leonard Kinsey has done. So when I heard about Habst and the Disney Saboteurs, his latest release, I was really excited. He sent me a review copy, and I still wasn't sure what to expect with it because of the title. I could make heads or tails out of what this was going to be. But we've reviewed Our Kingdom of Dust before, and we both loved that, and we both loved Hollow World, even though that was by Nick Perversky. It's still the same universe. So I knew that even if the Habst and the Disney Saboteurs was only half as good as Our Kingdom of Dust or Hollow World, it would still be fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I remember when you did get the book, I purposely did not tell you anything about it because I had read it, an earlier draft of it before, and I didn't want to spoil anything for you. And I wanted you to have your own impressions of it. But, having reread the final form of the book now, too, I enjoyed even more now than I did when I read it a couple of months ago in its, second or third draft stage. But what's it about, George? Tell me what's it about.
This is the hard thing. It's like the Crying Game. You can't really say too much without spoiling it, but Habst is the main character, and he's in his mid-20s, I believe, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think he was. And he's actually been described, and it's very easy, he's a burnout, a tech prodigy, and obviously a Disney fanatic. So, okay, I can live with some of those things. And then you get the sort of the dark side Disney twist of the knife. He's living with his slightly underage girlfriend.
So, for reference, this is not a book for kids, just throwing it out there now.
Yes,
this is definitely a Bamboo Forest Publishing book.
Yes,
this is definitely
if you see the cover, it's a great cover by Emma Levitt, and I hope we didn't just massacre her name. It might be Leave It. She'll yell at us and tell us. It's a very young adult teen cover. So just parents beware. There's a lot of not safe for work or not safe for young kids type stuff in here, but don't let that detract you.
No.
Reading this book at all. So he's living with his slightly underage girlfriend and her very wealthy mom, and he sounds like not really a bad guy, but a slacker, maybe that's only out for himself until he gets entangled
in the plot of some
plot of yes. And the cool thing is he brings in Charlie Walker, who you might remember from Hollow World. And if you did read Hollow World, you do not have to read this first or read Hollow World first, but having read Hollow World will add so much to the book.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see a progression of a character that Nick created wind up in Leonard's new book, and it kind of creates, to me, this bamboo forest universe of fiction that they can write in, and it's
like Marvel,
Marvel in a way. It's really, really cool, I think, and I mean, on top of that, it's just a really good book to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely takes, it takes you to places that you haven't been before in books, especially in a Disney setting. And
yes.
The idea behind it, again, is what we can't say because it'll spoil it, but it's very interesting, and it's very in line with, the original vision of Epcot Center, and it's very Disney-esque, and it makes a lot of sense when you get there. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great read.
It's one thing that I know I can get from Leonard at Bamboo Forest, that he looks for authors, I mean, including what he writes. The books are very intelligent.
Yes.
Not to the point that you're not going to understand it, but the way they're crafted. They're put together very well. The language flows. There's never anything that's going to be over your head. It's great storytelling. It's always exciting, and it's always funny.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, a lot of humor is built into it. Some of them you may not get right away. The one thing that when I spoke to Leonard beforehand about it, he said there are a couple twists and turns that some people have not expected and some people have not liked. But I thought they were pretty cool. I thought it was a neat shift. We reviewed Midlife Mouse a few months ago, which we both liked, but it took us in a weird direction that neither one of us was really comfortable with. And this has some similarities, but it goes in a different direction and it works better.
Yeah.
I think it works a lot better. It's just, as you and I had talked, Leonard did a lot of research in this book to get a lot of his facts straight. And, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of stuff that's not quite safe for kids. There's a lot of drug use that's talked to. There is some sex, and they talk about the dark net, which is a place where you can purchase or find out about a lot of illegal.
It's from the darkest timeline, for those of you.
Yes, from the darkest timeline. But I if you're an adult and you have an open mind, I really would love for you to read it. I think
absolutely.
You can look past those small things, or it just might be something that doesn't really bother you. You're going to enjoy it because it's very, very well crafted. And again, Leonard has great characters that have depth to them and feel like they're real people themselves.
Agree. And
okay.
I highly recommend it, and that's really all I have to say about it. I highly recommend it. Definitely read it.
I think the only thing to add is it needs more boats.
Just at least one boat.
Just one.
One.
Sometimes you might see it, sometimes you don't. Hey, look, what's that? It's a five-legged goat.
When you're walking around Ghost Town at Knott's Berry Farm, you'll find a store called The Barn. Now, inside the barn, you'll find all these plush animals for you to buy if you're into that kind of thing. But of interest to us is that in one corner of the store, you'll see a display of these 3 bears having instruments in their hands, and sometimes, occasionally, they will play them for you. These are actually leftover bears from Knott's Berry Tales, which was designed by none other than Rolly Crump. I don't know if they're the last surviving bears from the ride, but it's pretty cool that they saved them and they actually repurposed them for the store. They're just kind of hanging out, and they do play music still, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great when we walked in there, and you're like, hey, this is one of the last, well, basically what you just said. And we just hung around for a few seconds, and it started. And we got to watch them perform a song, and it was really neat to see, neither one of us got to see Knott's Berry Tales.
Yeah, just in videos.
At all.
I saw
just
it.
In the video form is all I've seen. Of course, the great segment on it, and it's kind of a cute story. The great book by Rolly Crump is told to Jeff Heimbach or something like that. Some dude. But it was a lot of fun, so I enjoyed seeing the history. So the next time you're in Knott's Berry Farm, check out the barn and hang out.
With the bears.
Maybe shed a little tear. Just
mayhap, because I always do.
Yeah, I do too, so... Well, thank you guys so much for watching and listening to another episode.
Yes, be sure to leave us a comment and give us a rating on iTunes. Please, we love your feedback. We've been getting a lot of feedback lately, and we love it. And next week, now that all this craziness of the tour and everything's over, we're going to get right back into history stuff. Don't you worry.
We are?
We are.
Oh.
I
We
promise.
just have to prepare for that, won't we?
We generally don't, but that's okay.
Well, if you have ideas for a history segment, email us at communicoreweekly@gmail.com and we'll see what we can come up with.
Yes, please. And of course, you can always like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Communicore Weekly. We shared a lot of photos during the week, and if you're not
Yes.
liking the Facebook page, you're missing out on all the photos.
Yep. And you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Imaginerding and he's at Jeff Heimbuck.
And of course, you can call us on the Communicore Weekly Goat line at 424-785-4628. Give us a call, leave us a message. And if you went on the trip, give us a call, leave us a message, tell us what you thought about it.
Oh, exactly. And if your name is Eric Serta and you went on the trip and you want to tell all of the listeners how cool it was to meet me, feel free. I would love that.
You don't have to do that, Eric. It's fine.
You sure he doesn't have to?
No, he doesn't.
Well, it'd be cool
I
if he
mean,
did.
don't let George peer pressure you into doing anything. Please.
Okay, well, let me peer pressure everybody into buying a copy of Communicore Weekly, the musical.
That is okay.
That is okay. Good. I just need to know where the line was.
Yes.
So grab your copy of the musical on Amazon, iTunes, CD Baby. You can listen to it on Spotify. We don't care. We just want you to listen to it. For Jeff Heimbuck, I'm George Taylor.
And for George Taylor, I'm Jeff Heimbuck. Thanks so much for listening, guys and gals. We'll see you next time on Communicore Weekly, the greatest online show.